Hello and welcome back to the Librarian of the Rings. My name is Ben, I'm the librarian, and today we're going to be talking about what the source material could be for the upcoming movie, The Hunt for Gollum. Welcome back. I'm sure by now nearly every Tolkien fan has heard that there has been a new announcement by Warner Brothers that there's going to be a new Lord of the Rings film coming out in 2026. It's going to be produced by Peter Jackson and directed by Andy Serkis. And the working title for it is The Hunt for Gollum. So I thought we'd take a few minutes today to talk about what the source material for this movie could be. Now, right off the bat, we need to quickly review what Warner Brothers has the rights to adapt. And that really comes down to just these 4 books. They have access to The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That's what they have the rights to through the Embracer Group, which owns Middle-earth Enterprises, which holds the rights to the film adaptations as well as some other adaptations of the Lord of the Rings. Now, if you want to do a deep dive into where the rights for The Lord of the Rings lie, then the Nerd of the Rings has done a great video explaining all of that over on his channel. What they do not have the rights to is the Silmarillion or Unfinished Tales or any other of Tolkien's posthumously published writings. They don't have rights to any of that. And so they can't draw on anything from these for these later films that they want to make. They're still bound up in everything that is here. Now, there are still a lot of cool tales that they could tell. You'll have a tale or two to tell. Simply because there's so much packed into the appendices for The Return of the King. Tolkien put so much in there, and because those rights rest with Middle-earth Enterprises, they are able to make movies about that. Just like how there's going to be a new cartoon anime film, The War of the Rohirrim, which will come out later this year. So there are stories that they can tell that are kind of outside of the story of The Lord of the Rings. But this one happens to rest really solidly inside of The Lord of the Rings. Now, something that we've learned as Rings of Power has developed by Amazon is that material from these other writings of Tolkien can be asked for from the Tolkien estate. They can grant special permission for certain elements to be used, like a name or something like that. So that could happen. But I don't really think it needs to, because almost everything that exists for The Hunt of Gollum is found within these 4 books. There really isn't that much in the other writings. And so they can probably rely just on what they already have to tell this story. And I just want to warn you that there is not a lot of material here or anywhere for this. So if seeing the 300-page Hobbit adapted into 3 films was a problem for you, then you probably aren't going to like this. You're going to see about 12 pages of material adapted into a full-length feature film. And so there's going to be a lot of extrapolation going on. So let's talk about where those 12 pages even come from and what The Hunt for Gollum is. So The Hunt for Gollum is something that's been tossed around quite a bit for an option for another Lord of the Rings film or some other adaptation. And that's because it's kind of a self-contained story that feeds into the larger story overall. It should essentially be the story of Gandalf and then Aragorn hunting for Gollum as they try and find out what the truth is about Bilbo's ring. And the source material for this comes from just a few places. There's nothing in The Hobbit about it unless they go back to when Bilbo finds the ring, which they could do that, particularly if they wanted to bring back Martin Freeman and have him reprise his role as Bilbo in some aspect, but there's really nothing in The Hobbit that deals with the hunt for Gollum. It's not expressed at all. But where we kind of pick it up is in the Fellowship of the Ring. And the first place is in Chapter 2, The Shadows of the Past, where Gandalf is talking with Frodo about the ring and its history and how he has discovered what he has discovered about it. And he tells briefly about his encounter with Gollum. This is over the space of about 8 pages. Only part of it actually deals with the hunt for Gollum. And then there's other parts about Gollum more generally. But that's about 8 pages here. Then we have to go all the way forward, still within the Fellowship of the Ring, to the Council of Elrond. In the Council of Elrond, there's going to be about 5 pages that deal kind of with the Gollum story. And there's passages within that from both Gandalf and Aragorn that could be used for the hunt for Gollum. Particularly if they're going to take the hunt for Gollum all the way up through his escape from the Wood Elves. There's a lot about that. Legolas talks about the escape in particular in the Council of Elrond. So you've got parts of about 5 pages here. And that's where we get about 12 pages total that you can deal with. And then there's a few other passages that might be helpful. In the Two Towers, there is a scene where Frodo and Gollum are talking, and specifically Frodo is referencing Gollum's capture by Aragorn. And this makes Gollum very upset, and he stops talking to Frodo, essentially. And so it's not much. It's about a paragraph of text that could be helpful from this book. And then lastly, we have The Return of the King. The only thing that's helpful in The Return of the King is actually found in the appendices at the back. During the Tale of Years, there are a couple of paragraphs there that describe some things about the hunt for Gollum. And so that might be helpful to them in adapting this work. And that's really it as far as the Lord of the Rings proper goes, as far as what they actually have the rights to adapt. Now, if they were to ask for special permission, the Silmarillion's not going to do them any good. There's really nothing in here that would help them out in the hunt for Gollum. But in Unfinished Tales, there is a section called The Hunt for the Ring, and there are a few passages in there that do deal with the hunt for Gollum and reveal information that is not found inside of the Lord of the Rings proper. So there's a few things, particularly with Aragorn and his capture of Gollum, that could be helpful. And that's basically it. That's all the source material there is. They need to extrapolate from this a whole film. So now I want to hear from you. Do you know of any source material that I might have missed here that you can bring up in the comments below? And also, let me know what you think of this new film coming out. Are you excited for it? Are you concerned about it? What do you think? There will be lots more content coming as the hunt for Gollum progresses and as we learn more about it. We'll talk more in detail about what these source materials actually say and how that might be adapted for the big screen. Until next time, farewell wherever you fare. May your ears receive you at your journey's end.